I'm curious. You guys are on the ground now, and apparently the People's Republic's military and also the Luhansk has been basically pressing on their advantage with the Russian military. What is the condition on the ground that you guys are currently in, and how far have you guys gotten into military operations up to this point?
I've been on the front for 3 days in the last week. I mean, like I said, all the open ground is already taken. We went through that like a knife through butter.
Yeah.
And now the only thing that's holding us up is these human shields in the cities.
So just
there's still quite a bit of the Ukrainian army. You understand that this war didn't start 2 weeks ago. It started 8 years ago, and the Ukrainian army has been on the front lines of Donbass, literally on the city limits of the major cities: Donetsk, Makiivka, Izhnevato, Lugansk. I mean, where I live is less than 5 miles from heavy major Ukrainian army bases that shell our neighborhoods daily and nightly, even still. So there's 150,000 Ukrainian soldiers, ISIS cannibals, neo-Nazi volunteer battalions, mercenaries, and other various detritus, within miles, of the city centers. And their plan that was just about ready to be executed, that was drawn up by the U.S. and NATO, was to come directly into the city centers. To use the human shields was their strategy, you understand? Because if they come into the center of these big cities, Donetsk is 1 million people. Makiivka, next city over, 500,000. Gorlovka, probably 200,000. So they come in right to the center of these cities, and they know Russia is going to react. But if they can get into the center of the cities, and I'm talking about moving, 10 kilometers, 5 or 6 miles, then they have a whole city full of civilians to use as human shields. Russian artillery, Russian rockets, Russian missiles, Russian air power. Doesn't work when it's in the middle of a city if you don't want to kill the civilians.
Right.
That was their plan. There's a lot of those soldiers still right there, a few miles from where I am right now, Ukrainian soldiers and other terrorists. But they're not moving right now because they know, they're already surrounded. And, I'm sure the Russians have already told them, look, we can rain 1,000 caliber cruise missiles on you in 5 minutes flat, and we will if you move. So don't move, and we'll work something out later. Because they're not moving. A few of them have been moved back to the east. A few of them have retreated, but they are not advancing. They continue to shell our city lightly, not heavily, not like it was right before the Russians came in. But they're still there, and they're still a real threat. And it will be a great day for humanity if they're able to surrender and be dealt with peacefully, rather than trying to make one last bloodbath before their inevitable defeat.
You went over there to fight. What is it like as far as working with these Russian soldiers? They say that, we talk to Scott Ritter all the time, for example, and he says that the Russian military is some of the most high-end soldiers you can get. You can even see it in their ads when they recruit soldiers in their military. It's like, these alpha men. And then you see the United States where it's like, you can be whatever you want to be, and it's a cartoon, and it's like, oh my gosh. But what has it been like as far as the transition of knowing what you've been taught here in our military versus kind of them and what they've been taught, and how have you guys been able to kind of cohesively work together from two opposite sides of the world, but in two different militaries?
Well, I am an honorably discharged veteran of the United States Army also. I was a combat engineer. I served 3 years, 1981 to 1984. And that was just kind of an adventure for me. I wasn't politically motivated. Actually, my dad kind of bribed me into do it. He said he'd pay for my college and give me a job and stuff when I got out. But there is no comparison. The Russian soldiers are highly educated, highly motivated, experts at their jobs. I actually served in a Spetsnaz battalion here for a few months back in 2015. And believe me, when they say Spetsnaz, it's no joke. They can, part of their training, they lie down on the ground with their shirt off with a cinder block on their stomach, and one of their buddies smashes it with a sledgehammer, or they can break beer bottles on their own heads.
Wait, just one cinder block?
They really,
That's not impressive.
It's crazy type stuff. It's like, it's like Shaolin monk type stuff.
Russell,
go ahead.
Oh, no, please continue. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that, they're inspired by the example of their grandfathers or great-grandfathers now perhaps, but the example of the Russian victory. You understand that 80% of the German Wehrmacht, the German military power in the Second World War, was destroyed on the Russian front, 80%.
Yeah.
So that means that, it's like, the world went out for dinner and Russia paid the check, and then the United States and Britain and France and Canada and Australia, they split the tip between them, and now they say, hey, it was our dinner,
Yeah.
The abject historical illiteracy and hypocrisy of these scum that say, that ignore the heroic
sacrifice
contribution of the Russian Red Army in the Second World War, it's beyond contempt.
Yeah.
To equate the Russians with the German Nazis is, it is both idiocy and hypocrisy of the most contemptible type. But the soldiers here, believe me, they can kick the ass of anybody in the world, any army in the world, and they will if they have to. As you understand, Russians hate war more than anybody in the world hates war. They lost 26 million people in the Second World War. And they hate it so much that they're not going to let it happen again. And if they're forced into it, as Vladimir Putin himself once said, and I quote, "Those who force Russia into war will learn the true meaning of pain." Vladimir Putin is also a warrior. He's a 9th degree black belt in Taekwondo and 8th degree black belt in Judo, which makes him one of the top martial artists in the history of the world. And when he says it's going to hurt, he means it.
Russell, got a question for you. Is that the framing that they're in? Kind of like the Great Patriotic War, in that light? That's the way they're basically looking at this.
It is exactly, because that is exactly what it is. I'm telling you that these Ukrainian volunteer battalions and even the Ukrainian army, they say Heil Hitler, they say Slava Bandera, who was a Ukrainian SS Nazi collaborator during the Second World War. They have swastika tattoos. They have swastikas on their helmets and uniforms. They fly swastika flags, German Wehrmacht flags with the swastika on it, on their positions. They use Nazi techniques of terrorism. They torture and murder prisoners and civilians. It's not an exaggeration or rhetoric or hyperbole to say that they're Nazis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And words get, like Nazi or fascist or something. Some punk in a coffee shop says, "Oh, you're a fascist because my frappuccino is cold." But the real word Nazi means the followers of Adolf Hitler, who consider themselves a master race and who consider other people subhuman, who can be used as slave or livestock or be exterminated like insects. And that's who they're fighting here in Ukraine. And it's the Nazis in the United States that own the United States that taught these Ukrainians how to do it. And we're going to fight them too.
You're going to probably eventually come back to the United States, right?
No. Why would I want to come back to the United States? It's a circus and a toilet compared to here. Believe me.
I was going to say, what are you going to say to those people, that are going to almost look at you as a defector, or they'll call you a traitor, or I
don't care what idiots think. These people that do that are too stupid to even have an opinion. I don't care what they think. I know what the truth is. I've been here for 8 years. I've seen what the Ukrainian Nazis have done on the orders and with the arms and with the payment and at the direction of the U.S. government. If I go back to the United States, I'll be driving a tank, believe me.
Now, my last question is you're seeing all of these reports of, these ceasefires and how the Russians are continuously breaking these ceasefires. As you on the ground, I was going to say, yeah, let us know.
That is a complete lie. The Russians are trying to get the civilians out of there so they can finish the war.
Right.
Believe me. And Sputnik News may be a little bit different, but mainstream news in America is exactly 180 degrees the opposite of the truth. When they say the Russians are breaking the ceasefire, it's a complete and absolute lie.
Wow.
We're trying to save civilians, and Russian soldiers are losing their lives because the policy is to be extra careful not to harm civilians.
How many civilians would you guys say that you've saved so far in your fight?
Well, there's no way of knowing that. It's the war still goes on. There's no way.
I mean, you personally and who you're with.
There's no way of knowing that. There's the ones that have gotten out of the main cities are the only ones that we for sure have saved, and that's probably in the multi-thousands at this point. But until those cities are completely liberated and pacified, all the ones there are in direct danger, not from Russia, but from the Nazis that are holding them hostage.
How long do you
it's
think?
Like saying,
how long do you
how
think?
many hostages did you save?
How long do you think you're going to be going at this? How much longer do you think this is going to take?
That's the question.
And of course, no one can say.
Right.
That,
but as if you had a
guesstimate. Depends a lot on how stupid and suicidal the NATO regime wants to be, how much they want to get involved with it. But I think that the operation in Ukraine will probably be finished up, including the mopping up, within another 6 weeks or so. And then there's going to be a long period of denazification, filtering out
Russell, we're going
all
to have
the
to close
war
it here.
criminals.
We're coming up to the end of the hour. But thank you for your commentary and explanation of what's basically taking place.
Thank you, Russell. Good luck out there.
Yeah.